Greetings, everyone. In the past few videos, we've been following the footsteps of settlers into Kentucky during the colonial and revolutionary period. One of the key characters that we focused on was Daniel Boone. Daniel Boone obviously needs no introduction on this channel. You know, the famous pioneer who brought settlers through the Cumberland Gap, famous hunter. In fact, the Boone and Crockett Club is partially named after Daniel Boone. And a famous Indian fighter, although Boone did downplay that aspect of his life. Boone said that he was only sure that he had ever really killed one Indian. You know, he probably likely killed more than that, but he said there was only one that he was absolutely sure that he killed. But that is the aspect that we're going to look at today. Because I think when we talk about Daniel Boone, there's so much American identity wrapped up in that character. I did a video one time, and if you haven't watched it, please go back and watch it. But I did a video about the film The Last of the Mohicans. And in that video, I mentioned that the character Hawkeye is based partially on Daniel Boone. James Fenimore Cooper, who wrote the novel back in the 1800s, he was inspired by Boone when he created that character. Hawkeye is a man who lives on the frontier. He's an exceptional hunter. He's a warrior. Depending on what version of Last of the Mohicans you're looking at, he is, you know, to some degree in all of them, he's an adopted Indian. He's a white Indian, but in some cases, you know, more than others. And then, of course, the most famous thing that ties Boone to this character is the rescue of Boone's daughter Jemima and the two Callaway girls, which we did talk about in one of those videos. But in The Last of the Mohicans, Hawkeye has to rescue two daughters, not his own daughter, Colonel Monroe's daughters, but the event was inspired by something that had happened to Daniel Boone, that fictional account in The Last of the Mohicans. And so it's very easy for us to, you know, merge that fictional character Hawkeye and the very real Daniel Boone together in our mind. And doing that, it would be very easy to think that Daniel Boone used a rifle in combat. And I did a video on the American long rifle, and if you haven't watched that video, please go watch that video about the significance of the American long rifle. I did a lot of work on that video, and it's important, and I think it will help you understand what we're about to do. But I think most people that have an interest in Daniel Boone assume that he was using a rifle in battle, and that's not actually true. Now, I'm sure that he did occasionally. He was a rifleman, and he was a hunter, and Pennsylvania long rifles, Kentucky long rifles, you know, the American long rifles, they were great for that. They were accurate. They had, you know, long range capability for the time. And if you wanted to go out and hunt deer and hunt bison and things like that, that would be the you know, weapon of choice. And Daniel Boone, if he's out hunting and he had to defend himself, I'm sure he would use a rifle. If I was hunting squirrels with a 22 and a situation arose where I had to defend myself, guess what my weapon of choice is going to be? It's going to be that 22 that's in my hands at the moment, right? But if I had to go to war, if I knew that I was going to war, then I wouldn't choose a 22. I would choose something more suitable for war. And when Daniel Boone knew that he was going to war, he didn't use a rifle. And we know this from primary sources, and I'll talk about those in a minute. But it's interesting that he used a fowling piece, which is a shotgun. And so I also would ask you to please go watch my video about the significance of the Indian trade gun, because I talk about why shotguns and fowling guns and trade guns and all that were so popular, you know, among Indians and colonial settlers and frontiersmen and things like that. Now, eventually the rifle did become preferable to those things, all right? But the versatility of the smoothbore made them valuable in combat. The biggest problem with the rifle, the biggest disadvantage of the rifle, yes, it was more accurate, yes, it could shoot farther, but it was slow to load. And you could load a smoothbore much more quickly than you could a rifle. And you have versatility, what you load it with. You could load it with a single, large musket ball, what we today would call a slug. You could load it with buckshot, you could load it with birdshot, or you could mix and match all that stuff. And so what's interesting is Daniel Boone's son, Nathan, gave an interview. He was interviewed about his father. And there's a book about it. You can read the interview. And I'll post I don't know if you guys notice, I always post the sources down in the bottom. I don't make stuff up on this channel, okay? The sources are down there. So you can read the source, you could read the book. I recommend, if you're a fan of Daniel Boone, to read this book. It's great, okay? But it's an interview with Boone's son, Nathan. And when he's talking about the Battle of the Blue Licks, which we did a video on, okay? In fact, it's probably the last video before this one. I'm not sure. I filmed it a long time ago, but I'm hoping they'll come out in some kind of order that makes sense. But the Battle of the Blue Licks, Nathan Boone is being interviewed about his father fighting at the battle. And Nathan Boone says that his father, when he went into battle, used a fowling gun, which is a shotgun, okay? And he said that he loaded it with 3 or 4 rifle bullets and 16 to 18 buckshot. Okay, so I'm going to roll in a little bit of footage of what that looks like. All right, that is a lot of lead. Okay, that is 4 ounces of lead, which is a lot. Okay, now I don't know what size rifle bullets Boone was using. Okay, if it was a point, these that I just showed you are .49. They're for a 50 caliber rifle. There were smaller rifles, 36 caliber, 40 caliber, 45 caliber. But remember, Boone was hunting big animals like buffalo or bison and elk and deer. So he may have used even bigger bullets. And then the buckshot, I'm not sure what size buckshot he used. If you're familiar with shotguns, you know that there's several sizes of buckshot, from single aught, double aught, triple aught, number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4. All right, so this is basically what I'm going to do here. Is the most common rifle bullet, which is 50 or .49, and the most common buckshot, which is going to be double aught. All right, maybe it was a little more, maybe it was a little less, but that's what we're going to do. And I'm going to tell you, I'm not looking forward to it, because 4 ounces of lead is a lot. This is the equivalent of 2 12-gauge shells, and then a couple of rifle bullets added in there. So we'll see. Hopefully I survive doing this. All right, now if you look down here, you'll see a couple of targets. You probably recognize those targets if you watch my Battle of Cowpens video. That was my British soldiers. They're not British soldiers anymore. They're just white guys, all right? Probably could have painted them like Indians, but that probably would have made somebody mad. So they're just white. Now, I will say this, at the Battle of the Blue Licks, there were a lot of Indians there, but there were some white guys there. European loyalists, British loyalists, even some French, guys who were now part of the British Empire and stuff like that. So it don't really matter. They're just targets. I'm going to shoot at the one on the left. Okay, now I know some people would think, oh, you're shooting a lot of pellets. Why not aim in the middle and try to hit both of them? Well, I don't think you should ever not aim at the target. You should always aim at the target. I think a lot of people go duck hunting, bird hunting, whatever, and a bunch of ducks fly by and they shoot in the middle of them and they miss all of them, okay? So I am going to aim at the one in the middle, but I am curious to see if the one on the right gets hit. Chances are you're never going to have 2 enemies stacked up like that. Not in the frontier. You might have had that at a battle, a formal battle, like between 2 European style armies. But I think it's more of the fact of just trying to get as much lead down range to hit the target as possible. So I'm going to load up my trade gun. I'm going to put 70 grains of 3F, and then I'm going to put all this lead in there, and I'm going to shoot it. So let's try it. Let's test Daniel Boone's combat load. All right, I've got the trade gun loaded. I've got 3 rifle balls and 16 double aught pellets. I got 70 grains of 3F. All right, let's see what happens. All right, guys, so I'm sure you could hear it in the video, but we definitely hit the target. But I was curious to see what it looked like, so I came down here, and honestly, I'm a little surprised at how this looks, but let's take a look. All right, so on the target that we were aiming at, we have 3 hits. We got, one here, 2 here. I definitely think this is probably a rifle, and then those 2 might be buckshot. But that's it, 3 hits out of all those pellets. Now, what's interesting, if we look at the guy over here, he actually has a hit all the way up here, and that looks like one of those buckshot pellets too. So the good news is we killed both the enemy. The bad news is, in my opinion, is man, that's a lot of lead to get 4 hits on 2 different targets. But maybe that's why Daniel Boone loaded his gun up that way. Maybe he knew that he needed that much lead to hit a target from that far away. Let's load it up again. Let's try it one more time. All right, so I got the gun loaded back up. Same thing. I've got 70 grains of 3F. I've got 3.49 caliber rifle balls, and then 16 of those double-aught buck pellets. I will say this, okay? So the first load that I did, the one we just shot, I didn't really know the order to put the balls in. I kind of, it said, the primary source doesn't tell us, all right? So what I did was I put 1 rifle ball, and then I put a few of the buckshot, and then another rifle ball, a few of the buckshot, and then another rifle ball, a few of the buckshot. All right, this time I went all 3 rifle balls and then all the buckshot. So let's see if that makes a difference. I'm going to shoot at the middle target again. I'm gonna tell you, that ain't fun to shoot. All right, guys. So as you can probably hear, we hit the target again. I will tell you, it looks a lot different this time, but keep in mind, we got to subtract 3 of those hits. All right. All right, so here we go. Okay, it looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. All right, so even if we take away 3, we've still got 10 hits on this target. And some of y'all will be like, oh, that guy can't count. Well, I'm pretty sure this is 2 and this is 2. All right, maybe more, I don't know. But we got a lot more hits on target and no hits on this target. All right, so remember last time we had 3 and 1. This time we have 10 all on the target. So I don't know the physics of it, but that seems definitely the way to go. Put the rifle balls in first and then load the buckshot on top. That's one dead Shawnee warrior right there, or British loyalist if you prefer. So I found one of our pieces of lead. I'm guessing this is one of those 49 caliber balls. There's another one. Man, look at that one. Golly, that thing flattened out beautifully, didn't it? I'll actually melt these down and turn them back into balls. Here's a little thing. This is probably, that's probably a buckshot. That's actually what I do. I shoot a lot of modern handguns. I actually, this is a history channel, but I'm a firearms enthusiast and I love to shoot. Look at that one. That one's barely, man, that's crazy right there. That thing's like probably ½ an inch thick. That's cool. But even like the bullets I shoot, like if I shoot a 45 or a 9mm or something like that, and I can come down here and find the lead, I'll just save it, and I'll get a bunch of it. I'll melt it down and then turn it into musket balls. There's another one right there. That's one of those. That's a buckshot. Man, that's cool. I would not want to be on the receiving end of that load. All right, guys, if you like this video, please like, subscribe, comment, all that stuff. I normally type that at the end, and I will on this one too. But you know, for those of you that don't know, I'm a history professor, okay? I teach colonial America, revolutionary America. But what I found is, you know, I had to start making videos during COVID because we couldn't talk to our students and all that stuff. But anyway, what I found is that, you know, a lot of my students don't care anything about this. They just want to pass and move on to whatever, you know, career they choose, and that's okay. But what happened was people started commenting and liking and subscribing that weren't my students. They just liked history. And so, that just did my heart a lot of good. I was like, hey, you know, there's people that actually care about this stuff. So that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to make history come alive and, you know, do some modern applications and stuff like that. And I'm hoping, last time I checked, I had like 800 subscribers roughly. And I think if I can get over that 1,000 mark, then I'll be able to start making a little bit of money off this, which, you know, it's not about the money, but at least I'd be able to buy, stuff like percussion caps and all that. Speaking of percussion caps, I've never shot a percussion gun on this channel. I actually shoot percussion guns a lot, and but I've kind of been saving. I've been trying to go in order a little bit. Historically, it's probably dumb. Probably should just make it, but I think in a very soon upcoming video, we're going to shoot some Hawken rifles, and maybe talk about the Mountain Man era a little bit. I don't know. We'll see. I'm definitely going to shoot the Hawken because I'm itching to shoot it. I hadn't shot my Hawken in probably over a year, maybe 2 years. I don't know. That hurricane has screwed us up, man. That hurricane is just ruined this place. But we're slowly but surely getting over it. So, well, anyway, thank you guys for watching.